Good Sunday morning to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Kind of spring-like temperatures here as we look at temperatures on this Sunday morning. A couple different weather systems to note here. We have kind of a flat ridge of higher pressure affecting a good portion of the western half of the country. This Pacific coast trough of lower pressure, an area of low pressure here off the Oregon coast, Northern California. That's going to be advancing eastward. And our main flow is really going to be along the northern tier regions as weather systems continue to work their way kind of from west to east. Overall, the warmest weather has been kind of pushed out off to the south, and we're going to see temperatures that are a little bit probably either slightly cooler than normal, if not getting close to normal, and occasionally getting into that above normal range for the middle part of the week, and then colder weather at the late part of the week, especially here in the northeast United States. These are wind gusts associated with this trough of lower pressure and an area of low pressure that's working on through. It's going to provide us with really just some very scattered light rain shower activity, really not a whole lot going on in terms of actual weather. We're not seeing a tremendous amount of precipitation here in the state of Vermont. A lot of it is virga, and most of this is passing to the south. That's that system that's associated with the surface low that's off the Virginia coast, and kind of about as far north as about the state of Vermont. But this other area of low pressure working on through, and we're kind of tandem in between, and we're kind of in the weak zone here for the state of Vermont, not really expecting a whole lot in the way of precip. Now, on the back side of the system, as I was just showing, a little bit of gusty winds. That's going to work in basically from Monday, and especially Monday afternoon. A brief frontal system will work through and bring us wind gusts around 35 to 45 miles per hour. So some minor concerns for utilities, and most of that is going to be in the northern and central Green Mountains and points east as we head toward the Connecticut River. Here you're looking at the 850 temperature anomalies and streamlines in centigrade Celsius, and what we have here is this is valid earlier this morning, last night even, and what we're going to see is that frontal system that pushes in. It's going to bring us slightly colder conditions, and that's going to be at its coldest during Monday morning, and then that will get swept on out. It's relatively minor in terms of its the amount of colder temperatures there. Warmer anomaly with a ridge of higher pressure is going to be pushed and come through the region, and we're going to see that eventually, especially on Wednesday. This is valid about 8 o'clock Wednesday morning, and then that gets pushed on out, and there could be a little bit of thunderstorm activity right in the central and southern parts of Vermont. Watching these storms look relatively benign. The flow is not going to be very strong aloft, so it doesn't look like a big deal, but a little bit of a lightning concern for some locations, and some rumbles of thunder potentially for the day on in the afternoon hours on Wednesday. Now this is valid at about 12Z on Thursday. That warmer than normal conditions at 850 hectopascals, roughly about the same level of the top of Mount Mansfield. These temperatures kind of illustrate the point, slightly above normal going into the day on Thursday, with a good project weather day, and then slightly colder weather works in as we get into the late part of the week on Friday, and then that'll continue off and on unsettled for the weekend. Looking at that, and not that super impressive, however, but a little bit in the way of below normal temperatures will continue until a slight ridge of higher temperatures begins to push in as a developing area of higher pressure. Then it gives us that southwesterly return flow that happens basically in the early to mid part of next week. We're talking in the first week of May here. And we'll end on this note as we get into around the 6th. You're seeing another oscillation for colder weather. So we'll see temperatures basically do the old up and down roller coaster. Having just showed the temperature anomalies, we're looking at the European incrementals for every 3 hours. And this is our little bit of precipitation note. It's mostly southern New England and to the south of us. This is valid at about 8 o'clock this morning. Not a whole lot going on in Vermont, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. This afternoon, a little bit more in northern areas, some scattered lighter showers, a little bit stronger as we head toward about 8 p.m. this evening. So a minor amount of wetting, not a big deal. That's going to get pushed on out. We do have a little bit of a gusty wind that's going to be pushing in, as I mentioned, on Monday. And the strongest winds appear to be with a kind of a weak frontal boundary. It's kind of hard to see here, maybe right through the Connecticut River Valley, or St. Lawrence Valley, rather. And then that pushes on through fairly late in the day tomorrow, kind of indicated by some westerly to northwesterly winds affecting mostly the central and northern Green Mountains and points east. Again, pretty marginal stuff. Then things do calm on down as we get into the night on Monday night and into the day on Tuesday. Tuesday looks like a good project weather day with sort of in-between weather systems, a little bit of a ridge of higher pressure poking into the region, and then that ridge of higher pressure kind of collapses once we get beyond that point, and we see a little bit of moisture kind of coming in with this very weak disturbance in the Great Lakes. That's going to be taking place on once we get into Wednesday, and that is our little frontal boundary, and with this we could see a few thunderstorms, again benign, as that tiny area of low pressure kind of tracks and then pulls away from our region. That sets up another pretty decent day on Thursday overall. No one day is completely 100% sunny, however, so in terms of solar generation, electrical generation, it doesn't look to be the greatest for this basically this period going this week. But we do have some good weather for Thursday, as it looks kind of a little bit of a tight squeeze. And then here comes another storm system, kind of a combination of a northern branch of the jet stream with this jet stream energy here producing colder temperatures, and then, of course, warmer with rain to the south and across the Great Lakes. And that generates an area of low pressure working on through. This is valid on Friday, and this is where we could see even a little bit of minor wet snow return as we get basically the last, as we can see here, valid about 8 o'clock on Friday evening. As you get into Saturday, Friday night, Saturday, we could see a little bit of minor wet snow in some of our elevated areas. So we're not done with the snow. However, this looks to be very, very limited. The GFS ensemble looks like this. And looking at the total amount of QPF, not a big deal, but over time we're seeing some jumps and whatnot. And we'll edge up toward 1 inch amounts. This is going to be near normal to slightly above normal for precipitation for this time of year. And with that precipitation type for this Monday here, we're looking at predominantly rain, maybe a tiny tail end of a few wet snowflakes in the very highest terrain. Not a big deal. We dry out, and then we're looking at, again, predominantly rain with some hints of potentially a little bit of wet snowflake action as well once we get into this coming weekend. Weather Prediction Center, 7-day total quantitative precipitation forecast, accumulations of the amount of precip. We're looking at the half-inch line here, the 1-inch line up in the blue. And looking at temperature anomalies, what you can see here is some of the warmer weather is going to be starting to get shipped on out. A little shot of colder air working on in, but the Arctic is above normal. We have some high latitude blocking, producing warmer than normal temperatures across the Canadian archipelago as well as Greenland, and that extends into portions of the Arctic. 2-meter temperatures look like this, and then we just had dew points which look like this, and again on Wednesday potentially some 50, low 50 dew point. That'll add slight potential for any kind of benign thunderstorm activity to work on through. And then 850 temperatures, again, about the top of Mount Mansfield, that particular slice of the atmosphere, that level and elevation. Temperatures are above normal. We dip below normal. And then we're looking at above normal from the middle part of the period. And then as we get into next weekend, going slightly below normal. And this is when we will have some precip. So that's when we're looking at a little bit of wet snow potentially in some of the elevated areas this coming weekend. Moss temperatures look like this, the meteorological output stats. Near neutral, southern Vermont, just a little colder, about -3, closer to the Canadian border. What about 3 days later? I think we warm up just a little bit here. Yes, neutral gets pushed off the coast, and temperatures going about 3 degrees above normal. These are for 3 to 7 days for maximum high temperatures only. And a quick look by county as to where we stand right now in terms of precipitation. So this is a month, and this is month to date, the last 30 days or so. A little bit above normal for Addison County, not registering Bennington as much. Caledonia a little above normal. You can see those different counties. Essex, not quite as much. We get into Franklin County, right about 100% for monthly total. Everything is below, though. We're starting to make a little bit of inroads here, and you can see some of the counties that have had a little bit more precipitation, such as Grand Isle, Lamoille. Orange County about 100%, not above. Orleans County a little bit above. Rutland County about 100%. That's good news. Washington County a little bit above normal. Down into Windham County we go, a little bit below, and Windsor County about 100%. I think it's Bennington and Windham counties that continue to be a little bit sort of being left out on in terms of making up some catching up on precipitation. And we do have moderate drought across the region for most of the state of Vermont. Thanks for watching. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.